We are on air. That was a fail. Well done. Nailed it. I do know a little bit about transformation and ensuring that the results that you want to get are ones that you can achieve. 100 and some change days ago, 120 days ago or so, I decided it was time to make a change. And that was step one in the transformation process, is actually making a decision that where you are currently is no longer good enough and you want to succeed, or you want to have some kind of better outcome for yourself. So once I had decided that I needed a change, I then needed to decide what it is that I was going to change. So I decided that I needed to change the amount of water I was drinking. I decided that I needed to drink a minimum of 4 liters of water a day. I decided that I needed to clean up my diet significantly. My diet was horrendous. So I started working out my macros, and then I started tracking against them every single day. And the final thing that I did was I decided that I needed to gym every day as well. And I think that's one of the keys there, is actually keeping it relatively simple. I think a lot of the time people decide that they're going to do a transformation or they're going to make a change, and then they take on too much, and what happens is it becomes unsustainable, and all of a sudden they quit because, well, they tried to do too much at one time and they weren't able to keep it up. So 3 little things that I decided to change, and I then just stuck to it. The second thing I then did was I measured against everything. So like I said, I decided to work out my macros on a daily basis, and then I tracked against them every single day. I also got myself a scale that did more than just weight. So my scale worked out my body fat percentage, how hard my heart was pumping, it gave me trends, everything. So I used that. I then also did a progress picture every single day, and I tracked against it all the time. So once I had done that, I could then see what good was looking like, and the fact that I was still getting results, even though, let's say, for the first 30 days or so, my weight didn't really change. If I was just using that as a metrics, I probably would have given up. Versus because I had so many other metrics to measure against, I could actually see that yes, my weight was kind of staying the same, but the composition of my body was changing. I was getting a lot stronger, my chest was getting out there, my arms were getting bigger, and my stomach was shrinking, or my stomach line was coming back in again. So yeah, my weight stayed the same, and if I was just using that as a metrics, I probably would have quit. But because I had the progress picture every single day, when I compared day 1 to day 30, I could see, wow, okay, yeah, this is working. There's some good change here. There's some good progress. So it then motivated me to stick with it. Right, I decided I was going to make a change. I then decided what that change was going to look like. I measured against it on a daily basis, and then the third thing I did was I was accountable. So there's an app called Coach Me. You can download it. It's free. You stick in there what it is that you want. So I decided that I needed to exercise daily. I needed to fix my diet. I wanted to journal every day. I wanted to goal set every day, and a handful of other things. I stuck it in there. I set reminders throughout the day, and anytime one of those reminders pinged me, I knew, okay, this is time to focus on this now, and tick it off and ensure that I was accountable and on a daily basis delivered against what it is that I needed to do to ensure that my transformation was a successful one. The next thing from there was to be consistent, and again, I mean, the 3 above this ensure that you are consistent, but it's just to be consistent. Don't give up. After 30 days, or even sort of 15-20 days, a lot of people look in the mirror, they don't see any results, so they quit. They haven't given themselves a chance to actually start transforming yet, or to see results yet, and they're already quitting or starting something else. You need to be consistent. You need to stay with it. You need to be persistent. So, I mean, 4 and 5, the tips 4 and 5 are persistence and consistency. The 2 of them kind of go hand in hand. When you think you're not seeing results, that's when you use your other metrics, so your measurements, etc., and you can then see. If you've never had a transformation before, or you've never really exercised that hard before, I would encourage you to measure your entire body everywhere. So your arms, your chest, everything, shoulders, anything that can be measured, measure it and write it down. And then after day 30, do the same thing. 60, do same thing. 90, do same thing, and you'll see I mean, not only will you see it in the pictures, but you'll see it against the measurements and stuff as well. So those all kind of go hand in hand together. Then step 6 is no days off. There's no excuse for breaking your diet. There's no excuse for skipping the gym. I mean, sort of my days were starting 4 a.m. and quite often not finishing till 11. But I didn't go to bed until I had ticked off everything on my list. So it didn't matter if it was 11 o'clock at night and I hadn't done my step count for the day. Well, I got on the treadmill and I made sure that I did whatever needed to be done to then reach my 10,000 steps a day goal, or whatever the case may be. If it was midnight and I hadn't drunk enough water, you bet your ass I was drinking more water and making sure I had met my 4-litre goal, even if it meant that at 2 o'clock in the morning I'd have to wake up because I needed a pee so bad. But it is what it is. You got to do it. Like, the moment you break the trend and you give yourself an excuse to not follow through on something, that's when, like, your foundation is broken and everything starts to fall apart and wear away at you. When you hold yourself accountable, when you measure against everything and you track everything down, there's no excuse for not delivering. And then all of a sudden it builds the sense of confidence in you, and the more you do it, the more confident you get, and you just become a completely different person. You become more confident in yourself because you're now holding yourself accountable for everything that you said you're going to do. You've listed out what it is that you needed to do, and you've met every single one of those tasks, and there's proof against it. Whereas if you're not tracking and you're like, well, I think I drank about 4 liters of water today, but you don't know for a fact, well, the likelihood is that you didn't drink 4 liters of water. You probably only drank 2 or 3, and you haven't achieved anything, or you haven't met that specific goal. So track everything, keep it consistent. We did a quick summary on sort of my transformation and what I did. I decided to make a change. I decided what that change was going to look like, and then I decided how I was going to do it, and I followed through on it. I measured against it every single day. I was accountable every single day. I was persistent, I was consistent, and there was 0 days off. 120 days of literally being relentless, and that was it. That's the transformation you can see in one of the pictures or whatever I'd shown you. That's all it takes. It's not that complicated, it's not that difficult. Once you've set your mind to it and you consistently do what needs to be done, there is no way you can't see the results. There's no way that you can't get it to a position where you want to be. It's just making sure that you do whatever needs to be done in order to get there. I hope you guys have enjoyed the video, and I'll catch you next time. Cheers for now.